Okay, all right. Ooh. Oh, good. I'm glad people are commenting because I wasn't sure if I was live yet or not. Hello, everybody. Hi, Sandy. Hi, Susan. Hi, Angela. Hi, Jeanette. I think I saw your name up there earlier. Hello. Thank you for joining me, ladies. I'm just going to, once I turn the phone over, I'm not going to be able to see comments quite as easily, so I'm just going to update it, bring it up on the laptop as well. Oh, here we go. There I am. So 2 seconds. And hi, Sharon. Oh, who else has commented hello? And okay. All right. So I'll wait a little bit, I suppose. For those of you who don't know, this is my very first Facebook live. I've done lots of practices, but not actually spoken to people before. So I'm very nervous, so you just need to bear with me. But thank you to Susan and Jen and Cindy and Krista for asking me to do this video. Pushed me out of my comfort zone, so thank you, ladies. Hi, Vicky. How are you? You live in Melbourne, Vicky. I've seen your name lots and wondered where you reign from. Okay, I'll just give it, I'll give it a little bit, I think. This is the awkward chit chat. It's funny to watch from the other side. Not funny when you're doing it. Hi, Danita, how are you? Yay, lots of people popping on. Lots and lots of faces. Oh, well, while we're waiting, because I'm not a person who sits here and doesn't do anything and small talk and that sort of stuff, I'll just remind you of the thank you, Sharon. Sharon says I'm doing a wonderful job for my first live. Thank you. Thank you, Vicky. Thank you very much, ladies. So I thought maybe I might share, if you didn't see the blog hop, my blog hop project that was featuring Sailing Home. So this is the one here that I shared with a little bit of heat embossing on vellum with some white on vellum because it's such a detailed lighthouse. I really wanted to have a go at heat embossing on some vellum, and it worked out quite well. And you might notice up here on this circle, it's really hard to see, it might be a bit hard to see on the camera, but that's actually got a little bit of texture embossing done with this piece here that was from the Memories and More cards. So I just thought I would share that one. Yeah. I know, Susan. So awkward chit chat. Talk to yourself while we're waiting. It's very awkward. I'm not used to talking to I do talk to myself a bit, actually. And even when I'm talking to my kids, I feel like I'm talking to myself. Hi, Cindy. But yes, the awkward chit chat. I won't giggle quite so much when I see you doing it now, Susan. Yeah, okay. So I hope that this is all... Hi, Cindy. Okay. So I suppose last up, Krista had her video on Wednesday, our time. And I really, really loved her scrapbook page. Has anyone had a go at creating it themselves? I loved it. It was beautiful. Yes, Vicky, it's very, thank you for small talk prompts. It's very sunny where I am today. We've had lots of yucky, wintry, dreary weather, but it's beautiful, blue skies, no clouds. And I think we're meant to have some beautiful weather for the weekend, which would be nice. For Father's Day, I think we're starting to see a little bit of spring. Hi, Marty, how are you? Yeah, starting to see a bit of spring. There's a few blossoms popping up on the trees outside, so finally starting to see the end of winter. Hi, Janice, you're from Michigan. Hi, how are you? Okay, I'll give it a couple more minutes and then we'll get started, I think. What about you, Vicky? Is it sunny where you are in Melbourne, or you got the dreary weather that we had a couple of days ago? No, you do the awkward chit chat really well, Susan. Yes, you do the awkward chit chat very well. I just feel like it's really awkward when you're not doing anything. Hi, Jennifer, how are you? Okay, I've got 13 people watching. I think it's time to start because I'm done with the chit chat. Oh, good, Vicky. I'm glad it is sunny. Okay, so the Sailing Home was the focus product for the Crafty Carrot this month, which is really good because it's something that I had in my stash, and I think it appeals to lots of people. Hi, Wilma. How are you? Because you can do something masculine, you can do something feminine, it crosses all paths. It's got some beautiful sentiments and everything as well. So I'm going to have a go at flipping the camera. Fingers crossed it doesn't, it goes well. I haven't dropped it from my stand yet, but there's a first time for everything. All right, bear with me a moment, ladies. Hi, Wendy. Okay, let me turn the camera over. All right, hoping that's clear enough, straight for you all. Might straighten that up a bit. And yeah, all right, all good. Thank you for the likes, Angela. I keep seeing your little head pop up on the screen. Thank you. Okay, so this is my focus. This was my blog hop project. I'll pop that one to the side. And I will show you the project that we're going to be creating today. A little side note with this project, hi Lauren, I created this one a couple of weeks ago and had to have a bit of a chuckle when I saw Jen's project last week. For those of you who don't know me well, Jen is my upline. So Jen lives here in Bendigo with me, and she's a very good friend, and yes, I've known her for a long time and have really developed my creativity through classes with Jen. So we must be interlinked because I too decided to add a little bit of red to my project outside of the DSP. I think it's funny enough that we decided to add a different colour to the DSP, let alone that we've both gone for the red. But the reason I went with the red was because I feel like these blues for a nautical theme want a little bit of red with them. I don't know. The minute that I saw the paper, I thought red's the way to go. And then I've also introduced a little bit of copper here in the embossing and just a teaser of the copper trim at the bottom there. So let's get started. Okay, I have pre-cut most of what we needed today because being my first Facebook Live, I didn't want it, didn't want to bore you with all my cutting and, you know, cut it wrong and all that sort of stuff. So the first thing I'm going to do is work on the card base. You'll notice with the card base, it's really hard to see. You might be able to see it on the camera, that the card base is actually embossed with that subtle embossing folder. I just wanted to add a little bit of extra interest to it. And I've actually done it straight to the card base. So you can see on the inside here too, that it is also embossed. I just thought, you know, something a bit different. And have made a point though of making it a card that opens up that way. I don't know when the paper gets manipulated, whether it would warp a little too much if your card was opening that way. So the card base is just simply a half of your A4 here in Australia. I've put measurements on, I think there's measurements on the event of all the dimensions and everything. So apologies if I don't give them to you straight away. I do have some little notes here that are reminding me what they are, but in case I don't give them to you. And I'm just simply, to emboss the inside of the folder, I'm just simply going to, emboss the card front. Just simply going to sit this card base inside the embossing folder, right up to where it folds over, and hold it down, and it just should go through the big shot too. So I'm not going to bring the big shot in screen, it's just right here beside me, and I'm sure you've all seen a big shot go through. Although, apologies for shaking the table there, I probably made you all seasick. So, and here we go. So there's your embossed card front. So like I said, it does, it does warp it a little bit, but we're going to be putting some more layers on top there that will give it a bit more strength as well. So then with the front of the card base, hi Narelle, I've just got one piece of real red. Now, like I said before, I wanted to add a little bit more card here just to give it a bit of strength, because once you run it through the big shot, the paper just, I don't know, it feels a little bit softer. So I just wanted to add a full, even though most of it's going to be covered, a full piece of the real red, and that I've cut to the same width as the card, which is 10.5 centimeters, but slightly higher than the designer series paper, so at 11.2. The designer series paper has just been cut to 10.5 by 10.5, and I've gone with this balmy blue stripe. Lauren, I like balmy blue too. I am still a pool party girl. Lauren was asking earlier today whether everybody loves balmy blue. I do love balmy blue, but I still love my pool party. I really love this balmy blue stripe, and I love the texture in the paper there. But I wanted to add a touch more texture with a little bit of heat embossing. So bear with me while I find the stamp. So this stamp set's not sailing home, but it is one that I have often got sitting on my desk, and it's the Artisan texture. So it just has a whole heap of background stamps that you can add, and I'm using this one here today. So for starters, I just want to run over that with my embossing buddy. Even though it's sort of going to give a bit of a flecked look, I don't want it to be too messy. And I just want to get a scrap piece of paper as well, just to hold my embossing powder. So there's no right or wrong way of doing this. I have stamped the splatter, I suppose, twice, just in a couple of spots, just so it's peeking out from behind that circle. So we've got one here coming off the page a bit, and another. I might turn it around, I think, so it doesn't look. And hopefully, I'm guessing because I can't really see, hopefully this will be in the right spot. The beauty of this stamp is though, that if it doesn't sit in the right spot for you, there's a little bit there that just doesn't quite want there. If it doesn't sit in the right spot for you, you could actually just restamp it and you wouldn't know, because it's just very, yeah, the splatters, you just wouldn't be able to see it. And I'll just clear some of this embossing powder. There's also a little bit of heat embossing on the sentiment, which we'll be doing later. So I would normally just sit the paper aside until I was done, but I do want to clean that up straight away. Now my heat tool's not going to reach, so just excuse me while I, very Artisan appropriate. Thank you, Susan. Just excuse me while I heat emboss the spots. I really do love watching embossing powder melt, particularly the metallics. I think that it's that magical moment when it just goes from powder to a solid. It's really pretty. Okay, so there's your little splatter in the background there. And then now it's just ready to adhere to the card base. I'm not sure. I'm a double-sided tape girl. Snail runs out too quickly for me. I always feel like I'm reaching for a new refill. So I just use this double-sided tape. No, it's not tear and tape. I wouldn't use tear and tape this liberally. And just making sure that I've got this the right way. This is a bit boring for you watching me tear off the tape backing, so apologies. Just want to make sure that, yes, I've got my stripes going horizontally. This is the same width as your red, so I just want to position it in the center. I hope you can see that all okay. I'll pop that down. And then the red just goes straight down onto the blue. So it's Night of Navy is the card base, just in case it's not clear from the picture. And putting that up the right way as well. And then just centering this panel in the center of the card. And now. Okay, so that's the card base done for now. So I'll pop that to the side. And then I want to start working on this piece element here. So this is just a piece of a Whisper White cardstock. And I've used this wheel die cut here just to add some texture to the panel. So you could just go with a Whisper White circle, but I just wanted to add a little bit more texture to the panel. This is something I saw Cindy do a long time ago on a Crafty Carrot video on vellum, and it's one of my favorite go-tos. So to achieve that, this circle's been cut out with the largest stitched shape circle. And what I want to do is just, with a grey lead pencil, is just very gently trace around the die. The die does not cut, the cutting edge is not on the outside of this die. You can see here. So the circle won't actually, you won't see that if I line it up properly. You won't see that when I cut that out. But this just gives me a guide as to where to put the wheels. Now, so you didn't need to see me cutting out all of these wheels. I have pre-cut them. So you need 7, I think I worked out. In the last one I had 7 on there. So now we just adhere them to the circle. Now for those of you who were smart enough to grab some of the old retired adhesive sheets that we don't have anymore, you could easily do this with those, and then you just peel the back on, stick it on. But I did not pick up extra of that, and I am kicking myself daily. So I'm just very sparingly using my multi-purpose glue. You could use the fine tip glue because it is very fine, but I find that that takes a long time, not a long time to dry, but this dries a lot, it sticks a lot quicker. I find when I use that multi-purpose glue that it tends to sort of slip around a little bit. So, not the multi-purpose, sorry, the fine tip glue, it just doesn't get tacky as quickly. So I just am using the tiniest bit of this multi-purpose glue and just around both circles for the ones that are going here in the center. Now I've kind of got them interlinked quite closely. What you might want to do once you sort of get started is then perhaps work out where you want to put the rest of your wheels, just so that you're you're not sticking down and then thinking, ah, now I've got too big a gap. Yeah. So those handles, I suppose they're on the wheels. I want them to sort of interlink a little. And then you'll notice here, down here, I'm not going to be using much of that wheel, so I will probably, and same with this one, we'll trim it a bit. So I'm happy with those, so I'll start sticking a bit more down. Cindy says a little tiny bit of this goes a long way. Janice says the wheel die cut caught my attention right away. So pretty, thank you. Oh, I'm glad that it appealed to you, Janice. It's something a little bit different, adds a bit of texture, but not too much colour. I think you could do it in a darker colour, but then I think it would, for me, it might be a bit too busy. I'm not. You could also, if you wanted to, you could use an embossing mat and emboss directly onto it, possibly, but I don't know how that would go with repetitive, running it through the big shot repetitively, perhaps. So I'm just going to get my snips and I'm going to cut this one already, because I know I don't need like less than half of that one. Now, because this one's right at the edge, it's possible that these little hanger-on bits might be there on their own, so I will put a little bit of glue on those handles this time. I like them in the gaps. But I don't want them coming off if they're not being stuck on by the time we die cut it. Sticky fingers now. And then this little half here that so it's a bit like piecing together a puzzle. This little half here will fit just nicely in there. It would flatten. Is that, Cindy, do you mean when you run it through the big shot a couple of times it would flatten? Yeah, I thought it would. So you'd lose the effect. Okay, so just piece that one in there. Oh, hi, Patty. Glad you found me. That one there, I might just cut it. Now I've got sticky fingers. That's the only problem with using the multi-purpose glue. I might just cut a little off this. Oh, now see, I've got a bit of glue on my grid sheet. That's not going to be fun for later. So like I said, as long as I am keeping with filling outside or within that circle, I know all my gaps are going to be covered. Now this one here, I can probably half as well. You could cut more, but you're only going to end up losing most of the die cuts for these edge ones. So you should be able to piece it together with 7. I think Krista would shudder if you had to run through more of these through the big shot with her hashtag lazy stamper. Okay, nearly there. And I just have one gap here that I feel like I want to fill. You're only going to see that little bit of the handle, but that will annoy me if I see that gap all the time. Does anyone do that? They have something that they wish they had done, and it might be the smallest detail and nobody else would notice it. But because you know it's there. It's what you see all the time. So that there is the panel, and then you just bring your die back in, and once again using your pencil mark as a guide, you're sitting that within the pencil mark, then you know you're going to pick up all of the die cuts. And I'm going to, because yeah, the boat might have covered that too. I would still know it was there, Susan. Because my Big Shot mats are a bit gritty, the metallic plate's not that reliable at the moment, so I'm just going to put some washi on it because I don't want that slipping. Okay, so remove that there, put you back there, and now we've got the circle. So now the next step is our boats. The boats I have coloured using the watercolour pencils. So we need to be using Stays On ink. I don't trust the other inks not to bleed. Memento in particular. You could let it dry for a bit, that might work. And then just to save myself a little bit of time, these two boats, if you're going to die cut them, fit perfectly on a D block together. So one stamp. Now, my Stays On should have been re-inked, so apologies, I forgot to do that this morning. So I'm just going to be a bit more forceful with my inking of the stamp. And I might put a bit more pressure too. All right, on the image. So there we are. There's our two boats. Now, I know obviously one's upside down, but we're die cutting them, so that's okay. Oh, that's okay, Angela. Enjoy your day. I'll talk to you later. So, using the Balmy Blue and Real Red watercolour pencils. So the red, I've used red on the base of the boat just to tie it in with the red cardstock as well. And I've used the Balmy Blue on both the water and the sails. So when you're colouring with your watercolour pencils, you want to have even pressure. You don't want to sort of dig too much into that paper there, because that will be more noticeable. You won't end up with a smooth image. And when colouring the boats, I've just used the shading on the sails and also on the boat as my guide. My theory is behind that is that the shading is the darkest part, so that's where I want most of the colour, or will be the darkest part, so that's where I want most of the colour. So once I get in there with my blender pen, that will then drag the colour outside those shading marks. It's Father's Day here in Australia on Sunday, so one of these cards might end up going to my father, I think. Not that he's a sailor. Okay, so that's enough of my blue, and then similarly with the red, I want to use do all the pencil colouring first and then come in with the blender pen once it's all done. So And using my blender pen, just scratching off just to make sure that there's nothing still on it from last time. Just blending that pencil mark. I also like to just brush off, even though I'm going between blue to blue, I just want to remove, sometimes there might be a bit of excess colour on the blender pen. So I'm just dragging the colour out of that shading. It's probably a bit bluer than I wanted it to be, but what I like about colouring with the pencils is you don't have to be exact. Every project is a little bit unique. And then forgetting the water. And using Cindy's tip of a warm and a light end, just swapping ends of my blender pen. And now coming in with the red. The red watercolour pencils tend to have a bit of a pink hue to them, but that's okay. Just got to be careful not to pick up any of the blue colouring, otherwise you end up with a purple boat. And there's the boats. So quick, easy. Yes, I love the blender pen too, Cindy. I feel like I've got more control with that than I do the aqua painter, particularly on very small images here as well. Okay, so now once again using my washi tape when I find it again, I'm going to pop these dies down. Now the only problem, I might have put them a little too close on the block. Now I might not be able to die cut them at the same time, we'll see. So using Cindy's tip of these little poke holes, Cindy, I didn't know that until you shared your video, so thank you for sharing that one. That makes lining up that boat so much easier. Oh, Narelle, you've never used the blender pen with the pencils. It is a great idea for class. Less messy. In fact, I did another card, which I'll show you later, using the same, with the boats, the same technique. And we also did some colouring with the blends. And we definitely got through this project a lot quicker than what we did with the blends. So just, that's moved a bit. Excuse fingers, peoples. Just using some old washi to hold that down. I'll run that through the Big Shot. How am I going for time? You're not sick of my voice yet? So now we've got our two boats. So now the last little element that I just need to create is the sentiment. You are my true north. Now where did I put that? Here we go. Oh, thanks, Lauren. Enjoy dinner. Thank you for stopping in. Now, I like to use, I think it might have been Susan, also Jen, something that Jen does as well, use the grid to line up particularly my sentiments on the clear block. So it's a little bit harder to do with the camera. My phone stand in my eyes, but I'll try and do it. Even though I'm cutting this, I still like to be able to line it up. Oh, thank you, Wendy. Wendy says she loves my voice. I won't when I hear the playback, but thank you. And thank you, Jeanette. So I still like to line it up straight because I don't want to be spending a long time on video or normally trying to continually trim to get a straight, the straight banner here. until I saw that tip. I spent a lot of time stamping sentiments and then having to restamp because I had not lined it up properly. So this one is, oh, thank you, Cindy. I love listening to your voice. So this one is embossed in white on the navy as well. I wanted to draw some more of the navy back into the center of the page, so hence another lot of heat embossing in a different color. The fact that it's white, I don't think it matters that we've got some white embossing and some copper embossing. So just getting my powder ready and ink up. Ooh, that didn't work, did it? Now I'm gonna have to line it up again. Is that my blunder? Is that my only blunder? Well, I hope so. Try that. Oh, hi, Carolyn. All these people popping on. I'm a bit excited. Okay, so now that that's lined up on the stamp, I should be able to, on the block, I should be able to keep my block straight and use my block as a guide. And it didn't work. I didn't press down firm enough. Okay, my second blunder. Let's try again. I lost the top of my sentiment. It's because I'm not right over the top. I'm reaching a little. That's better. Okay, so now just putting down a little bit of scrap paper again. I'm just flicking it to get some of that excess powder off. Pop that down there. Okay, and I shall heat emboss that one. Excuse me for a second. Okay, and there we are, upside down, but there we are. So now I just use my trimmer to, my trimmer's been sitting in the sun, so it's nice and toasty. So I just use my trimmer just to trim that back a bit. It's a little bit, I've got a little bit too much of a border down here, so, but I am confident that that is straight. And I'm going to use the guide, the blade guide as my guide, because if I use that from the bottom, it should also be the same from the top. Actually. So do the same there. And there we are. So then now just using my snips. Hi, Jackie. Jackie was reminding me this morning that I was going live and she was all organised. What happened, Jackie? So just cutting a small little banner there. I'll just cut off this little wispy bit. Is anyone lucky enough to get some blades this morning? They went quickly. I did not. I was at school Father's Day breakfast. And I've got a few in my stash and I'm just looking forward to the new trimmer. So I wasn't too worried about that. So then now we've got all of our little pieces to put together the card. Jackie's a slacker. Be nice, Narelle. Okay, so we just need some of this copper trim. Admittedly, when this came out, I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do with that. But I've seen some lovely things done with it in the past, I think. Krista? Father's Day brekkie sounds wonderful. Oh, yeah, for the fathers, Jackie. Now with this one here, I actually cut the netting in half and made it quite thin. But I do actually I did want it to be a little bit thicker. So I'm not going to cut this one in half this time. I'm just going to manipulate it and bring it out flat, but give it a bit more depth. It's a bit like those orange bags. You pull them one way, they get skinny, pull them the other way, they get fat. Okay, so I want to use a little tear and tape to hold that one down. It's just peeking out from the circle, but I think I want it to peek out a little bit more than what it has here in the sample. So I'm just going to use my wheel as a guide first to work out where I want it to be. And then I think if I put it like so, holding my tongue the right way. So I'm just going to slide my tear and tape in underneath here, so I know. This is just holding it in place just ever so lightly, but then it won't move when I stick down this. Now, because normally if you've got ribbon or a trim underneath a layer, I would put dimensionals, but because this trim is so super thin, it's not going to, and then this has got texture to it as well, it's not going to make your panel look warped. So it should be fine just to stick down because I've added dimension with the boats and the sentiment. Okay, so you missed the gold splatters, Jackie. You'll need to go back and watch the replay. So this, see here, it's a bit gritty. I don't know if you can see it. I can see it anyway. It's a bit gritty from the multi-purpose glue. So I'm going to put that where I think the boat will cover it. And just pop it on there. So it's just peeking over the edge. Just peeking over the edge here. And then I want to work on the positioning of my boats. So the little boat is just down flat with a bit of tape or snail or Tombow, whatever tickles your fancy. And then the larger boat and the sentiment will go up on dimensionals. So that's where my larger boat's going to go. Just there, like so. So I'll just slide this one in underneath so it's just peeking out. You can tell in my sample I've obviously gone a little bit heavier with the pencil colouring because my boats aren't as boldly coloured there. Okay, and then with some mini dimensionals, I feel the mini dimensionals work better with this boat. I'm probably putting more on there than what some of you might, but this little part here, that would do my head in if that was bouncing away there. So that's the only reason why I put the fourth one on. Okay, popping you there. And then once again, some little mini dimensionals. This one here, I want it to slightly overlap, both on the boat and the trim. So it's going to come down. All right, so I'm just going to put a dimensional there, which will sort of tuck it in next to snugly into the boat there. And then I shouldn't need to put any tape there, but if you really wanted to, maybe a mini glue dot. Right. Okay. So just sliding that there. Right. And done. And there you go. There is my project. In shot there. So what do you think? I'm really happy with it. I hope that it's inspired you to have a little go. Sorry, some of that little trim has gotten stuck in the wheels. So there it is. Now I did mention to you that we had actually done this technique here on some other boats for class. So when I was first asked to do this live, I immediately sat down and started creating, and then had a class that I needed to plan for. Oh, thank you, Cindy. Thanks, Narelle and Sandy. So I chose to go with this card here. And we did this one in class, except for instead of the trinkets, we actually used the wheel die in some copper foil because I had run out of trinkets. But this I actually cased from a project in the catalogue, and I forgot to bring my catalogue, so I can't tell you what page it is, but I will share it in the comments. I'll share the picture so that you can see the layout that I cased from here. So this is your sailboats, once again coloured in the pencils, and a little bit of the twine. So it's more in keeping of the colours of the suite as opposed to this one that's introduced a little bit of the red. But both work quite well. So that's it. I'm done. I have finished my first live video. I'm a bit excited. So I'll flip the camera around to say goodbye to you all. Yep. There we go. Oh, I look wonky. Thank you, Vicky. Thank you, Jackie. We'll see. We will see. So that's it, guys. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you really loved the Crafty Carrot sailing home tutorials this month. I've followed the Crafty Carrot since it first started over 2 years ago. I think it might be 2.5 years ago. And I have watched every single month lot of tutorials. I love them. Thank you, Susan. I love you too. I love you all. So if you're umming and ahhing, I know the girls are really doing a big push on their 3-month special that's available. You can only get it, tomorrow's the last day, to be able to pick up the tutorials for the rest of the year. I really recommend that you do it because you'll get a lot from it. So much, as you can probably see, you get more, you get to see the blog hop pictures, everybody gets to see them, but bonus projects, it's not just one project that you get in your tutorials. So it's definitely worthwhile. And even if you don't have the stamp set, I've always found that I've been able to apply the techniques that the girls have shared to another stamp set or project. So it's definitely worthwhile. So thank you again for joining me. Thank you, Krista and Cindy and Susan and Jen for asking me to join you guys today. Yeah, okay, bye for now. Thanks.